Hello, and welcome to Zap the Gender Pay Gap, the podcast series where we expose the elephant in the room. The elephant's name, the gender pay gap. I am coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, located on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Nestled in the southwest corner of the state, Memphis is home to the blues, barbecue, and so much more. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker.
Thank you so very much for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Please look for me on Apple, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, please do so just by clicking the link. On last week's episode, I let you in on a secret. The secret? What elephants are afraid of. If you listened, you know what it is. If you didn't, pause now and take a listen. That way, you'll be up to speed and in the know. I told you that I discovered a fascinating article written by David Brown. In his article, David provides insights on Dr. Lucy King's research on elephants conducted in Kenya. The title of the article, What Are Elephants Really Scared of? Since elephants are such huge animals, you would think they are afraid of anything. But an adult animal can weigh up to 12,000 pounds. Their trunk alone can weigh up to 400 pounds. At shoulder height, they are 10 feet tall. So describing them as huge is somewhat of an understatement. But Dr. Lucy King discovered that elephants are afraid of something, and it's a really small thing. David Brown tells the story like this. An elephant herd leisurely grazing through a savanna in central Kenya. A small elephant calf playfully chases his older sister through the brush while their mother, the matriarch of the herd, strips bark from a large tree using her tusk and grabs the leaves with her trunk. You know, similar to the trunk that can grab a certain percentage of a woman's pay each payday. But I digress. Back to the story. As the matriarch approaches the next tree to enjoy the delicacies she finds there, suddenly she halts. She starts shaking her head and throwing dust over her shoulder. Now, in elephants, these are signs of great agitation. What in the world could be causing such a disturbance? She immediately sounds an alarm, and the entire herd of about a dozen elephants run shrieking in a hurry to get away from the trees. Now, there are no lions or other predators around, and there are no people, which are things that usually agitate elephants and make them run away. So, what in the world could be threatening the elephants, making them go screaming away from the trees? According to David Brown, Dr. King's research reveals what it is. It turns out that it was something small, and it scares elephants when they get close to certain trees. Since they are such huge animals, you wouldn't think elephants are afraid of many things, especially a small thing. But you can't guess what it is. Was it a mouse? No, it's bees. Yes, that's right. Elephants are afraid of bees. Now, bees form swarms which contain thousands of bees that attack any animal that gets too close to their hives. They sting their victim as a single unit, often delivering thousands of stings within seconds. According to Dr. King, it seems that over the millennia, elephants have learned to avoid trees with beehives. I think this elephant should avoid us too, huh? She thinks this must have come from elephants trying to forage in acacia trees and accidentally knocking open a wild beehive, and as a consequence, being stung in the face, around the eyes, and up the trunk. These are very sensitive areas on elephants. They run away as quickly as possible, she explains, when stung in these areas. Now, a experiment that Dr. King did was she recorded the sound of very disturbed, angry bees and played it back to families of elephants who were resting under trees. And she did this using a hidden wireless speaker system. And she did this so that she could see how they might react should a wild hive be disturbed nearby. Guess what they did? They ran away. And they did. They got out of there just as fast as possible. Now, when bees and elephants remain in their respective domains, they're both happy campers. But the problem all starts when both are out of their natural habitat. Here's an example. The article goes on to say that in the region of Kenya, where Dr. King studied elephants and bees, that sometimes conflicts arise between elephants and farmers. She explained that elephants pose all kinds of social, economic, and financial problems for farmers. And it sounds like our elephant, huh? They break open water pipes, knock down grain stores, and break into houses where food is stored. They raid and trample on crops that are still growing. Talk about wreaking havoc. After seeing this damage, the thought occurred to Dr. King that could the fear that elephants have of bees possibly be used to help prevent conflicts between the elephants and the farmers? You know what she did? She worked with local farmers to figure out how bees might be used to keep elephants away from the farms. They developed an idea to use bees as a sort of alarm to scare away elephants by incorporating beehives into fences around fields that elephants would like to raid. In their study site in Kenya, they are using beehive fences to reduce conflict between farmers and elephants. You know how they did it? The beehive fences consist of beehives strung every 10 meters around the boundary of a farm, which are interlinked with a strong piece of plain wire. And should an elephant try to pass between the hives to access the farm, the wire knocks into the body of the elephant, causing each beehive on either side of him to swing, releasing the bees away from and scaring the elephants away from the field. What an ingenious idea. Now, as I thought more and more about this discovery that elephants are afraid of bees and how Dr. King used that information to come up with a solution to keep elephants out of the farmer's domain, I said to myself, wouldn't it be awesome to take this information and apply it to this elephant called the gender pay gap? This elephant is outside of its natural habitat. It's wreaking havoc, causing economic and financial damage, eating into a woman's pay, taking out 18% or more in some cases. Now, since elephants are scared of bees, and I want this elephant to be afraid of me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Remember Muhammad Ali's quote? Who knows? It may just run when it hears me buzzing. Now, since they are such huge animals, you wouldn't think these elephants are afraid of many things, especially a small thing, but it turns out they are. Perhaps you're thinking you're a small thing when compared to this huge elephant called the gender pay gap. It is huge. It's a Goliath, but even Goliath has a person who will come up and they're no match for the sting of a bee. Just the sound of angry, disturbed bees can get this elephant on the run. Now, well, truth be known, this elephant called the gender pay gap is out of its natural habitat. They need to be put back in their place, out of our territory, back in their domain. Come on now. Don't you want to be like Muhammad Ali? You know, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Great. Me too. Just in time for Women's Equality Day. Please plan to tune in next week as I recognize Women's Equality Day, which celebrates the passage of the 19th Amendment. It gave some women the right to vote. Now, before I go, I want to give a great big thank you to David Brown for sharing Dr. Lucy King's research and cluing me into an elephant's Achilles heel. Elephants are afraid of a seemingly small thing, but that small thing has a powerful stinger, and you do too. Women, remember, we work hard for our money. We might as well take home all of it. That's the way we're going to enjoy it. Let's get this elephant on the run. Thanks so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you here next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time for the next episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. Until then, please be well.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. Please rate, review, and subscribe to or follow me wherever you get your favorite podcast. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.